Good afternoon. Your Excellency Francis Collins, Ambassador of Ireland to the Holy See, Reverend Father Mark Lewis, Rector of Pontifical Gregorian University, Sister Mary Johnson, Congregational Leader of the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur, our esteemed resource persons, esteemed guests, and dear friends in the Lord. A very warm and cordial welcome to each one of you to the symposium honoring the life of Sister Dorothy Stang. We are grateful to Father Mark Lewis, Rector of our university, to be present here, to welcome us and to give a short message. We'll start right away. To you, Father Mark.
Faculty, students, ambassadors, leaders, guests, participants, friends all. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this meeting on women's leadership in the climate movement. As we have increasingly seen in this papacy, the Church, which can move a bit slowly, is beginning to recognize the importance of the leadership that women can offer in a variety of aspects in the life of the Church. We celebrate, in fact, this week, the nomination of Sister Simona Brombilla, an alumna of our Institute of Psychology here at the university, as the new prefect for the Dicastery for Consecrated Life. As a historian, I can happily report that we have come a long way from the days that I study, when congregations of women religious had to exercise a great deal of creative fidelity to remain true to their charisms and service to the Church while respecting or following the restrictions placed upon them. But we are here also to celebrate a prophetic witness honoring the life of Sister Dorothy Stang. I note the symposium subtitle, Honoring the Life of Sister Dorothy, rather than celebrating her martyrdom, which I understand will be done later this evening. Because, in fact, it was her life that offered clear alternatives to the violence done to the Amazon. It too was creatively faithful, offering people the opportunity, the means to draw sustenance from the rainforests without destroying them. I am happy that we are hosting this event because of our involvement with the joint diploma in integral ecology, which is coordinated by our own Prem and which has as one of its goals the practical implications of Laudato Si. The best way to share our common home is to study and to learn ways that each one of us can act to protect our common home, to preserve those forests and other sensitive places that are not only worthy of respect and protection, but also the only way to defend our own lives. I need to go and greet another group in a few minutes, so I will have to leave you, but I congratulate you on your leadership, and I wish you a profitable symposium. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Luis, and wish you all the best for the next group.
At least I got the right one.
Okay. Now I invite immediately Sister Mary Johnson, the Congregational Leader of the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. She was Professor of Sociology and Religious Studies at Emmanuel College in Boston and Trinity Washington University in Washington, D.C., both institutions founded by her congregation. She has conducted research in the sociology of religion with a focus on young people, religious orders of women, international sisters, and Catholic social teachings. She has co-authored or co-edited 5 books and authored numerous articles and presentations for international audiences. During her last academic sabbatical, she held the La Schiavo Chair in Catholic Social Thought at the Jesuit University of San Francisco. Sister Mary's most recent book, co-edited with Erin, is titled Women Engaging the Catholic Social Tradition, Solidarity Toward the Common Good, published by Paulus Press in 2022. Welcome, Sister Mary, for your reflections.
Thank you, Father Prem. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our congregational leadership team and the entire congregation, I thank you for joining us today in a very important academic symposium. I thank particularly the leadership and especially the Rector of the Gregorian University. We are grateful to Professor Laurie Johnston of Emmanuel College in Boston and the community of Sant'Egidio for all of her work in arranging this symposium. And we thank our distinguished panelists who join us today. Among those with us today are members of the Stang family. 25 members of the family have come to Rome to honor their Dorothy. So we welcome you to be with us.
Yay.
The Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur are here. Those who serve in Rome, and Sister Kathy Harmon, the provincial of the Ohio province, which was Dorothy's province in the United States, and Sister Maria Delaney of the East-West province in the United States, as well as 3 of the other congregational leadership team members, Sister Lorraine Cannell, Sister Miriam Montero, Sister Amarachi Ezuono. We also welcome the students of Emmanuel College in Boston who have come for these special days, and Mount Notre Dame High School in Cincinnati, 2 institutions of ours in the United States. Many of our students in the US and around the world know Dorothy and her work. We also are grateful for the attendance of our friends in other religious congregations of women and the students here from the Gregorian.
This.
In a few weeks, on February 12th, we will mark the 20th anniversary of Dorothy's death. It is fitting that 2 events held today in Rome give all of us a renewed opportunity to reflect upon her life, her martyrdom, and her enduring legacy. One event is this symposium itself on women's leadership in the climate movement. The other is a prayer service sponsored by the community of Sant'Egidio this evening at the Basilica of San Bartolomeo. That event will be held at 8 p.m. It will honor her as part of the new martyrs from around the world. During the service, 2 relics of Sister Dorothy will be placed on a side altar to recognize that she is the first woman in this setting to be recognized and honored in this way, the first from North America. All of you are welcome to attend that service. As we reflect on Sister Dorothy's life in the context of an academic symposium, I wish to focus on her influence, what shaped her, and how her legacy influences and will continue to influence the Catholic social tradition, the religious dimension of the climate movement internationally, and women and their leadership in the movement. Dorothy, however, would want us to note all the people who influenced her in her mission, her family, her sisters in Notre Dame, her lay worker associates and companions in her work in Brazil, and most particularly, the people with whom she struggled to bring about justice, the people she lived with and worked with and loved for decades. Sister Dorothy was born in 1931. She was part of a large family and grew up on a farm in Dayton, Ohio. The love of her family and the rootedness of her upbringing formed and sustained her throughout her whole life. Perhaps growing up on a farm allowed her to hear her calling more clearly and more quickly, because she wished to enter the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur's Ohio province, who had been her teachers immediately after graduation from high school. From the sisters, after entrance, she received her second formation and another kind of rootedness. Dorothy was formed for a vowed perpetual commitment to God to serve the poor in the most abandoned places, as Saint Julie Billiart, our founder, inspired us to do. And she was formed to share her love beyond family, tribe, and nation, as the constitutions of our congregation call us to do. Hers was a vocation within a vocation, in that after teaching and loving our schools in our Ohio province, she asked to serve as a missionary outside her home country. She wished to go to China. But at that time, our mission there was ending. So in 1966, she was missioned to Brazil, a country she grew to love and whose people inspired her till her last breath. Her ministries in Brazil evolved, and so did she, as the sisters there and the people there with her read the signs of the times and responded to the calls of the gospel, to the calls of the new Second Vatican Council, to the newest documents of the Catholic social tradition, and to our congregation's developing understanding of mission. As the understanding of God's mission evolved in the church and in the congregation, Dorothy became even more skilled at articulating it through her life, through her works, and through her words. Years before Pope Francis's magnificent Laudato Si, Dorothy was hearing and articulating the cries of the poor and the cries of the earth. Her prophetic words and actions became a symbol of hope for those who struggled for life and dignity in the Amazon. In the working document in preparation for the Synod on the Amazon, Dorothy's contribution was recognized. But I think this 20th anniversary year allows all of us to look again and see more clearly her continuing influence in the evolving climate movement internationally, and her witness and its articulation in the ongoing development of Catholic social thought, particularly through two lenses: the principle of solidarity and the principle of the common good. On this day, when a major city in her home country is in flames at this moment, causing horrific death and widespread destruction of people's homes and workplaces and gathering places and worship places, and in other parts of the world which are at this moment dealing with the ravages of floods and storms and extremes in temperature, Dorothy's inspiration is needed to move individuals and nations beyond division and deceit regarding climate change. She and her inspiration call us to a deeper, broader solidarity. We need to realize her vision of a solidarity that transforms attitudes and behaviors in order to move national and global systems from dealing death to enhancing life. And all of us need, during this anniversary year, this Jubilee year of our church as well, to plumb Dorothy's life and words in order to deepen our understanding of the common good. Because she truly lived with people made poor and lived with, not lived on, earth, as it is targeted by some for domination and destruction. What do her words say to us today? What does her experience teach us about the relationship between the vulnerability of people and the vulnerability of the planet? How does her life and witness illuminate new paths for us as we seek to create new moments for solidarity toward the common good? And what do we, in her congregation, and as women religious working with many other congregations and many people throughout the world, what new thinking and new action can we contribute to the international climate movement in honor of Dorothy and because of Dorothy? As our faith teaches us, on the 12th of February in the year 2005, Dorothy's life was changed, not ended. May Dorothy continue to challenge us and inspire us on a synodal journey where we will deepen our discussion, dialogue, discernment in order to fulfill our responsibility to care for God's creation, our common home. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Mary Johnson, for your enlightening word and also inspiring us, encouraging us to move ahead towards the climate movement. Thank you very much, Mary Johnson. Now we'll take only 1 minute of break just to change the personnel, our resource person, and then we start. We are well ahead of time because Sister Maamalifar was supposed to start at 15:30, but it's only now. We are 15:21, so we have still time. But we'll start right away. I welcome our resource persons, our esteemed resource persons now. Sister Maamalifar, Poreku, please. Sorry, I put at the end. Dr. Emilce Cuda. And Dr. Gianni, LaBella. So we welcome them with a applause for them. You have to liberate the chair before. Oh. Yes. It's the unity. So we have in front of us the program and also the time. I do hope that we maintain in front of all the resource persons. Each resource person, there is the timing for their interventions. So please maintain the time. We are well ahead of time, so we'll have enough time for the question and answer session also. Now I invite very cordially Sister Maamalifar Poreku, who is a missionary sister of Our Lady of Africa. She has taught in Kenya, Ghana, Malawi, and is a Laudato Si animator and has served her congregation as the regional leader of East Africa, a member of the General Council, and as the community leader in Nairobi. She currently serves as the co-executive secretary of the Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Commission, International Union of Superior Generals, and the Union of Superiors General. So we welcome you very warmly, Sister Maamalifar, to present your reflection. Please.
Hello, is it okay? So thank you very much for the invitation to share with you about religious women involvement in the climate movement in honor of Sister Dorothy. And I would like to start this reflection by comparing Mother Earth with the womb of a woman that carries life from its initial stages, brings it forth, and cares for it until its completion. Mother Earth has been carrying all forms of life within her and caring for them until they come to completion. However, it is getting more and more difficult for her to do so because of the injuries and destruction she is experiencing. No wonder women, being bearers of life, understand this dynamic such that the unique strength women bring to environmental movement, as Soroko says, is women are the first environment for all people. The growing of the generations hold a special place in the growing of the communities. When the goodness of the growth has strong eyes, the good is growing. When the little eyes are struggling, it is very hard, and it is not good environment. Our mothers carry the good, most strive for goodness. Women have been the heart of the environmental movement for generations, pushed by this goodness at the forefront for decades as pioneers advocates for environmental and ecological justice long before any environmental movement. A good example is Dr. Rebecca Hall, who advocated for cubic air space laws to prevent overcrowding in apartments for Black people long before Rachel Carson raised alarm about pesticides in the 1960s. Dr. Cole's action helped move the focus of environmental advocates from exclusively protecting wild places and wildlife to ensuring that the places where people lived were safe and healthy. Mary Robinson, the first female president of Ireland, recognized climate change as a human-made problem that have a feminist solution. Hence, the recognition of the importance of women's role in different fields, even in business, in ensuring the achievement of real integral ecology. Many women environmental activists have paid the price with their lives, making them eco martyrs. For example, Gloria Captain from Philippines, Adelinda Gomez from Colombia, and Gladys from Spain. Badil and his companions, in their article titled Eco Martyrdom, Positive Elements of Self-Sacrifice, described eco martyrs as persons who accept to die to protect the environment from devastating further. And they define positive self-sacrifice as pro-social and altruistic actions exhibited by a person who is so fused with their community survival that they focus on nothing but the well-being of the community. Since their community struggle is tied to an environmental conflict, they abide by an ecological self, and over time, displays evidence of self-actualization and self-transcendence. Eco-martyrs are typically assassinated by the powerful organizations that they have been resisting. Despite the risk of their lives, women concerned for life, social, economic, and ecological justice for our common home and humans, especially the poor, continue with their activism to ensure that the environment we live in, both nature and humans, is healthy and safe. In this context, we can understand why religious women cannot remain indifferent in the face of the climate crisis that is severely impacting the marginalized, the vulnerable, and the poor communities they serve. Pope Francis, in his encyclical Laudato Si, called for a new dialogue regarding the way we are shaping the future of our planet and the need to include everyone in the conversation, since the environmental challenge we are experiencing and its human roots concern and affect all of us. Laudato Si number 14. This urgent appeal received an enthusiastic response from women all over the world to champion the cause of our common home. Religious women leadership in pioneering ecological and environmental justice. Religious women have been among the pioneers advocates for environmental and ecological justice for decades before environmental movement started. Their love and concern for the poor they serve as spiritual mothers pushed them to the forefront to advocate for the common good for all. Here are a few examples of religious women leaders who have pioneered environmental and ecological activism for the good of our common home. We have Saint Hildegard of Bingen, a Benedictine nun and a mystic. Is one of the greatest religious women integral ecologists and environmentalists. She was indeed a pioneer in environmental work long before an environmental movement came into existence. In one of her visions, Hildegard saw humans as living sparks of God's love, coming from God as daylight comes from the sun. She saw the harmony of God's creation and the place of humans within it, which was not apparent to many of her contemporaries. Her natural gift of healing, together with her knowledge in medicine, enabled her to treat diseases, combining natural herbs and spiritual healing. Viriditas, the greening life force, was at the center of her work. Her cosmology, her theology, her ecology, and her philosophy of human nature. It was infused in her medicine, her medical, ethical, and psychological writings, and in her praise in music. Hildegard believed that humans have the task to protect and replenish the green force and bring its greening spirit to all areas of human life, including philosophy and sciences. For her, Vredisa enters into the very fabric of the universe, and that God breathed Vreditas into every living being, even the smallest twig on the most insignificant tree inanimated with Vredita. Her perspective of creation provided a theology of stewardship, integral ecology, and environmental responsibility of humans towards the rest of creation entrusted to their care. She saw the restoration of creation as a call for restoration of justice first. If there is no justice, we cannot restore creation. Her thought about ecology is the perspective of Pope Francis' ecological conversion. She said that ecological conversion starts with an ethical shift that calls humans to change their morals and to connect with the greening spirit to help them flourish in their virtues. Many religious environmental activists have paid the price with their lives, making them eco-martyrs, and I want to just share with you a few of them. Sister Clausa Carolina, a Brazilian Augustinian missionary sister, worked to raise awareness on the importance of conserving the biodiversity of the Amazon and preserving natural ecosystems. She faced a lot of threats for her life, but her courage and love for our common home and the poor pushed her to continue her work. She became a leading voice in the struggle for human rights and environmental justice in Brazil. In 1985, she was martyred, but her legacy and fighting spirit continued to inspire those others to go on fighting for environmental justice and the rights of indigenous people and the poor. Sister Ines Aragon, a Capuchin missionary tertiary who worked with the indigenous Warani people to ensure that they live a dignified life. She immersed herself in the culture and the reality of the people. The day her life came to an end was the day she was to travel with Bishop Alejandro to another place, a territory that had never been contacted. Before leaving, she wrote her will in this way. In the event of death, the money is presented as follows. Use it for Oka's indigenous people and the poor. If I die, I go away happy and hope that no one knows anything about me. Always with all, Agnes, as if deep in my heart, I felt it would be a visit with no return. Sister Ines was martyred twice as she witnessed the Bishop Alessandro cut pieces by pieces before her own martyrdom. Another example of religious women leadership in the environmental movement who became an eco-martyr was Sister Dorothy Stang, a Notre Dame de Namur sister who we are honoring today. A woman of courage and power that neither false accusation nor death threats could deter her from pursuing her environmental and social justice and human rights. She remained faithful to her life's mission to fight for the poor of the land, to ensure that they had their rights guaranteed and live a dignified life. This gained her a Human Rights Award a month or so before she was killed. Now, a new species of skrik owl discovered deep in the Amazon forest received a scientific name of Megasocum stangi, in honor of Sister Dorothy. Her eco-martyrdom truly expresses the Dagara proverb that says, "A woman gives up her life for her child." She was the mother of the poorest of the poor that fought for environmental justice long before the start of any environmental movement. She advocated for integral ecology because she understood the interconnection of all life, nature and humans before Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si. She lived it to the full in her daily life, as indicated by the T-shirt she wore for years that translates, "The death of the forest is the end of our lives." Do you believe that? The death of the forest is the end of our life. And if we believe that, when we leave this room, let us do something to ensure that this forest doesn't die, so that we do not die. She knew the devastating consequences that would befall the whole planet with the destruction of the Amazon forest. She understood the importance of saving our planet because she felt that Mother Earth was not able to provide any more for all her children due to the poisoning of her waters, the poisoning of her air, and the poisoning of her soil with chemicals. Sister Dorothy was not an individual sister. She belonged to a congregation and she belonged to women religious organization. And this is why I find it is important to bring in the International Union of Superiors General, who gave a response to the environmental issues we are dealing with today, pioneered by Sister Dorothy and others. The International Union of Superiors General, through its initiative Sowing Hope for the Planet, honors Sister Dorothy's legacy, representing all women religious eco matters and the many religious women championing the ongoing journey of ecological conversion and integral ecology. Sowing Hope for the Planet was born from a unanimous commitment made during the UISG plenary in June 2019, when women religious leaders pledged to care for people and our common home. The statement boldly declared, "We commit ourselves to both personal and communal conversion, and we wish to move forward together in an orchestrated and coordinated response in listening to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor as we go forth as instruments of hope in the heart of the world." This commitment has been brought to life through the tireless efforts of religious women who integrated justice, peace, and integrity of creation into their mission. Connecting their charisms to integral ecology, they not only inspire, but also accompany others by encouraging grassroots actions, fostering advocacy, and working to respond meaningfully to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. Religious women's contribution to environmental activities are far-reaching, yet their potential for impact continues to grow. In fact, the legacy and impactful life and work of Sister Dorothy continue inspiring many religious women and men and other people who are working in the environmental movement. The UISG actively support every effort by reflecting on how their involvement can create even greater transformation at local, national, regional, and international levels. Today, there are many member congregations of UISG engaged in different activities, such as planting trees, sustainable agriculture, impact investing, fighting against land grabbing, extractivism, pollution, and integrating integral ecology into pastoral, social, and educational institutions that are contributing to ecological conversion and integral ecology. Here are a few examples. Sisters engage in practical, concrete actions to contribute to the maintenance of integral ecology. The Precious Blood Sisters in South Africa have a project, biologic onion, garlic, pesticide control method instead of using the chemical. And the objective is to reduce use of toxic chemicals on their gardens and field products. And they use natural ingredients, which we use every day in our kitchen. And then through this, they are able to produce pesticides that they use that doesn't harm anybody, that make the crops to produce food enough for the people. And this Sister Dorothy was doing, she did. So you see that her death is not in vain. Huh? Her death, she has given her life so that there may be life. She followed the example of Jesus. And therefore, she is challenging us today. So we have Sister Antoinette also from Lebanon. They also have a project of a livestock development where they are producing dairy. They have a dairy factory. They are using organic fertilizer also. So you have this life cycle. I don't want to go into this. You can read it. It is there. This life cycle. So God has given us all that we need. He has given us the knowledge. So let us use it. Let us not use our knowledge in a way that destroys the environment and that destroys people. Let us use that knowledge and what we have to enhance lives. The lives of humans and the lives of nature. In conclusion, as we can see, women have been great pioneers in spearheading environmental and social justice to ensure that there is integral ecology. The reason behind this is that women, being bearers of life, deeply understand Mother Earth, the bearer of all life, struggling to feed all her children because of the injury she has been experiencing for centuries. The climate crisis has not started today, it started long ago, and we refuse to recognize it. Thus, religious women who have become eco-martyrs like Sister Dorothy are rising in religious women, taking up different activities to continue fighting for integral ecology. They are rising in their people and in the land as the struggle for integral ecology continues. May all religious women eco-martyrs, Sister Dorothy, Sister Clem, Sister Ines, and those that we don't know yet, continue to inspire all religious women with their courage, determination, and perseverance to work for environmental, social, educational, and economic justice for the poor and Mother Earth. May they teach us how to live in hope despite these despairing and difficult times. Sister Hildegard of Bingen, Sister Clausa, Sister Ines, and Sister Dorothy Sang, we are proud of you. Pray for us that we too may embrace your wisdom, your courage, and zeal to work for integral ecology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Maamalifar, for your inspiring and above all, encouraging and challenging words. We deeply appreciate your words for the eco-martyrs of our religious women. So thank you very much. We'll proceed further immediately. I now invite Dr. Emilce Cuda, who is a theologian from Pontifical Catholic University of Argentina and professor at Loyola University of Chicago. She is a member of Pontifical Social Science Academy and Pontifical Academy for Life. She is among Salem consultants for political and labor issues. Since 2021, she has been appointed by Pope Francis as Secretary of the Pontifical Commission for Latin America at the Roman Curia. To you, the word, Sister Dr. Emilce.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this important meeting. And thank you for the testimony that I listened from my colleagues in this panel. I am from Latin America. I born in Argentina. And all these histories are my challenge from my 18 years. I know very well the situation. And it's not easy to understand what happened, for example, in the Amazonia or in Africa or in Asia. See, one person never has been there, not like a tourist, not for a visitor professor 3 months. It's important to live there, think with that people. The option is with the people and not for the people. This is the innovation of Pope Francis. And for that it's important to speak the same language, because through the language is the culture. So it's not easy to speak about them. In this case, we are here for Dorothy, but 1 month ago, we were here for other people who was killed just now. And we start a campaign, and the name of campaign is La vida pende de un hilo. This is a strong sentence and a strong expression in Spanish. La vida pende de un hilo. In English is something like life hangs by a thread. Maybe it's nothing for you because it's not a common expression in your culture, but it's a strong expression in our culture. And if one person, in this case, like Dorothy, but I can quote here the name of other brothers and sisters, professors, priests, bishops from other continents. For example, we have a journalist, very important for us in Latin America, Miguel Modino is a journalist. He born in Spain and he lived there for 20 years. And we need him because we need to communicate in Spain, in Europe, in United States. We need the network of the CELAM, for example, the Latin America Bishop Conference. It's not the bishops, the conference of the bishops. It's the council of a lot of people working there to promote this, to do visible this life, the life of our missionary, but the life of the people and the women who were there. At the moment, and maybe for 200, 300, 400 years, who sustain the life in that continent are the women, because women has the capacity to organize the community, but to organize the hope and to organize the faith. And in my opinion, Dorothy is a great example of this. And when the question to participate here was, you can speak with us about which is the way after Dorothy for women leaders in Latin America. It's not only for women, men, young people, kids. Today, 3 young students from US universities visit me in my office 4 hours ago. And one of them told me, she was young, and she told me that she visited me because she was from Africa. Maybe she's here. No. And she told me that now she is 28 years old and she is involved in this because she lost a brother, 8 years old, working in the coffee system in, I think was in Cameroon, really. So we listen this every day. She is not in the Amazon, this young woman, she is not in the Amazon, she is in DC, in the heart of the empire, working for a lot of kids who are in the same situation in Africa. So if the question is, which is the way of the leaders or women leaders, is so big because we must to build a network, not only working with the poor, but working in the universities, working in the union workers, between the union workers, in the companies, in the governments, in the church. So, and we have that women. So we must do visible them. This conference start naming the new prefecto of the Curia Romana, the woman. That is the great news, and it is a great news. But I think we must to do the same, not only with the women who are right, like myself, to a high position. We must to do visible millions of women who possibility that she, myself, and maybe a lot of you are here speaking with the microphone because we are the result of a long way of women. In the case of Latin America, I think Dorothy is an example of an organizer of the hope of the faith. Maybe you know that Pope Francis called us to organize the hope. What is the hope? The hope is a theological virtus. All of us receive in our baptisms the 3 big arms. Pope Francis called it. He said, we are people not with arms, but we have 3 arms, special, sobrenatural arms: faith, hope, and love. And the 3 are important. But our challenge is, like Dorothy, how to organize that virtus, because we believe in God, but not in other people. We trust in other people. And we must organize this, because at the moment, a lot of people believe in other people. You can see that in the presidential campaign. They are looking your faith. So we believe in God, not in other person. We trust in the person, and without trust, it's impossible to have a community. So we must to organize that, because that is ideology, and the consequence is idolatry. This is the first. The second organization is how to organize the hope, because Pope Francis offered us an exhortation, Querida Amazonia, and in that document, he doesn't speak about 4 necessities. If we listen to the political candidates, when they are in campaign, they speak about necessities. Pope Francis speaks about dreams, 4 dreams. Dreams in the sense of hope, because the hope is not an illusion. It's not something that maybe happen, maybe no. Hope is other thing. The hope is like a motor. The hope is the principle who move the people to be in unity, to do community. If not, it's impossible. The individualisms, the problem of the individualisms is because we must insist to transmit what it means, what the hope means. We must organize the hope. In which sense? Organize the hope of Pope Francis is do what Dorothy did. when or where other people only saw where the political man or economical man saw their necessities, and they speak about the necessities, we must sow their hope, and we must organize the hope. Because, as Pope Francis said, in Fratelli Tutti, when the people feel necessities, the result is the isolation. And that is the individualisms. And then arrive the falsas místicas comunitarias, said Pope Francis. Communities that offer their assistance like a mystical community, but they are not the real mystical community. And that happens when the people is isolated. And the people is isolated when they lost the hope. So the first step is how to organize the hope, to move the people to do community. That is the beginning. First, the unity, then the strategy. So, in the case of Dorothy, we can listen how she teach or she work with them to know how to cultivate, to protect the land, to get food or different things. But it's important to speak about her, how she can organize the hope to move that people to do community. Because when we have a community, we organize the five. The people trash in the other, but all they are brothers. Nobody is the Lord of the other. If we confuse five and trash, we have totalitarianisms. We have colonialisms. So in my case, Dorothy, as other people who was killed in our continents, are our martyrs. When I say this 2 months ago, here, not in the Gregorian, in the Sala Stampa of the Holy See, when I said that people are our martyrs, and here we have a professor, LaBella is an specialist in this, some journalists sent to me to wash dishes. Catholics media. You can look for that. It's on internet. The new truth. So, what you say that the people who died for defend the earth, the diversity, the social magisterium, to build the church, the dignity of it, is a martyr? Oh, please, you are not a theologa. You must go, please, señora, vaya a lavar los platos. Ahora se entendió. Sí. I have no time because I have a washing machine for that. How is the name? See, well, this is important because which is the role of a woman? And maybe when we think in a woman, we think in a woman who is taking care of the family, taking care of the earth, taking care of the community. But I would like to tell you that the role of the woman in my continent, Latin America, is to organize the life. In our continents, we have in our history lot of women who was democratically elected for their people like presidents. And that happened in Latin America, not in North America or in other countries, first in Latin America. So if that happened is because the people in Latin America trash in the women. So I think we must, in my opinion, we must to show to the world which is the role of a woman in politics and organization community. And the case of Dorothy, when I saw a video, 2 videos about 2 movies or documentals about her last week, who surprised me was that she was smiling all the time. So the beauty is part of una cosa bonita que las mujeres también aportan a la vida, ¿no? The beauty, la belleza, la capacidad de sonreír, smile, organizar, and at the same time to be strong. So thank you so much for inviting me here. In Latin America, we are a big organized community. We have a big network. All the continent is in connection. We have a lot of network, REPAM, REMAM, RECHAC, Red de Iglesias y Minerías, redes de universidades, Union Workers in Network. We have all the continents organized. Pero we must to insist that, as Pope Francis say, we must put everything in his place. So we must organize the faith, we must organize the hope, we must organize the love, so the consequence will be the social justice. On the contrary, we be doing politics, economies, but not Catholicism or Christianism. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emilce, for your inspiring words in the context of Latin America. And it was very interesting, your presentation. Thank you very much. Now we pass on to Dr. Gianni LaBella, who is a professor at Università degli Studi di Modena e Reggio Emilia, and also a member of the community of Sant'Egidio. He has been involved in Sant'Egidio diplomatic efforts in Colombia, Guatemala, and Peru. The author of more than 14 books, he has also served as Capo Ufficio at the Pontifical Commission for the Justice and Peace, and as a consultant for the Pontifical Commission for Latin America, for the Italian Conference of Bishops, and for the CELAM. So to you, your word, Dr. LaBella.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I will speak in Italian, but you have the short synthesis on the chair. Sono tanti gli aspetti sui quali mi piacerebbe soffermarmi a lungo rispetto alla vita di questa grande testimone della fede, che oggi vogliamo onorare ricordandone la sua eroica sequela al Signore, depositando questa sera una sua reliquia, un po' di terra intrisa di sangue, nel santuario dei Nuovi Martiri nella Basilica di San Bartolomeo all'Isola, dove sono conservate le memorie di tanti martiri del Novecento. Le mie considerazioni saranno brevi e soprattutto indirizzate a capire le radici della sua sensibilità religiosa. Nel Vangelo di Matteo, al capitolo 5, al versetto 14, si legge: «Voi siete la luce del mondo, non può restare nascosta una città che sta sopra un monte, né si accende una lampada per metterla sotto il mogio, ma sul candelabro, e così fare luce a tutti quelli che sono nella casa. Così risplenda la vostra luce davanti agli uomini, perché vedano le vostre opere buone e rendano gloria al Padre vostro che è nei cieli». Queste parole dell'Apostolo sono per me un ritratto fedele della vita di Suor Dorothy, la cui testimonianza ha toccato il cuore di tanti, illuminando le tenebre di un mondo dominato dall'ingiustizia, dalla sete di guadagno e dalla cupidigia, attirando con la sua luminosità l'attenzione del mondo. La vita di Suor Dorothy, lasciatemi passare il termine, è oggi un patrimonio universale per l'umanità. Una luce che non possiamo spegnere, seppellendola sotto il mogio della nostra indifferenza, concentrati solo sulle ambizioni del nostro presente. Dall'istante in cui la sua vita terrena è finita, questa umile religiosa, e sottolineo umile religiosa, si è trasformata in un simbolo potente di resistenza non violenta a un modello di sviluppo predatorio, pronto a sacrificare la dignità umana sull'altare del dio denaro. La vita di Suor Dorothy è un esempio di come il Vangelo può trasfigurare la vita di ciascuno di noi. Il suo seme non ha smesso di produrre frutti ed è per questo che vorrei molto brevemente sottolineare alcuni aspetti che mi sembrano fondamentali della sua eredità spirituale, espressione del suo specifico carisma umano e religioso, poiché Suor Dorothy non è stata solo una attivista sociale. Il primo, il cardinale Carlo Maria Martini ha più volte manifestato il desiderio che sulla sua tomba ci fossero scritte le parole del Salmo 118. Lampada ai miei passi la tua parola, luce al mio cammino. Queste parole hanno ispirato tutta la sua vita. Anche Suor Dorothy, e io vorrei sottolineare molto questo aspetto, ha fatto della Bibbia la fonte quotidiana della sua vita, studiandola per prepararsi all'insegnamento, tanto da portarla sempre con sé, anche fisicamente. Questo è un aspetto molto, molto importante. Come sappiamo è morta alzando la Bibbia al cielo e a chi gli chiedeva se aveva delle armi, poco prima di morire ha risposto che questa era la sua unica arma di difesa. La scrittura, la Bibbia, è stata la sua compagnia, la sua consolazione, la fonte della sua felicità, trovando in essa le parole, i sentimenti e le visioni che le hanno permesso di guardare in modo nuovo e diverso all'ambiente in cui viveva. Non più un habitat ostile, quanto piuttosto un immenso palcoscenico in cui ammirare gli inestimabili doni di Dio. La sua vita è una plastica realizzazione del Salmo 104, che recita: «Quanto sono grandi, Signore, le tue opere, tutto hai fatto con saggezza». Suor Dorothy ha visto nel creato il capolavoro delle mani di Dio e con le parole del Salmo 19 ha cantato con la sua vita la bellezza del firmamento. La tutela dell'ambiente rappresenta per Suor Dorothy una sfida per l'umanità intera, un dovere comune e universale, quello di rispettare un bene collettivo destinato a tutti e non soltanto ad alcuni. Suor Dorothy ha per così dire incarnato nella sua testimonianza di vita le parole della lettera ai Romani al capitolo 8, quando l'Apostolo scrive che la creazione geme e soffre le doglie del parto, in attesa del compimento della speranza di essere liberata dalla schiavitù della corruzione. Suor Dorothy ha donato la vita per evitare che la corruzione corrompesse il paese in cui Gesù l'aveva chiamata a vivere. Secondo aspetto. Nelle parole del Padre nostro, Gesù ci insegna a vivere solo grazie alla disponibilità del nostro pane quotidiano e a rimettere i nostri debiti, ricordandoci quanto ci è stato condonato. Con la sua vita, fatta di sorriso e spensieratezza, Suor Dorothy ha suggerito con umiltà i tratti di una nuova antropologia cristiana. Questo anche è molto importante per me, mostrando che è possibile emanciparsi, liberarci da quella dittatura del materialismo che ci rende schiavi del nostro consumismo, facendoci riscoprire il valore della sobrietà e della austerità, due parole che nel nostro linguaggio collettivo contemporaneo hanno solo un sapore negativo, inaugurando una ecologia del cuore centrata sulla temperanza e sull'autodisciplina, non solo come virtù personale, ma anche come virtù sociale, come virtù collettiva, oserei dire politica. Suor Dorothy, ed è un terzo aspetto che vorrei brevemente evidenziare, ha preso alla lettera le parole del Vangelo di Matteo al capitolo 9, versetto 36. Gesù, vedendo le folle, ne sentì compassione e lei ha donato la sua vita in forma solidale e profetica ai poveri tra i più poveri, agli indigeni sconosciuti e senza diritti dell'Amazzonia. Si è fatta voce e avvocato della loro causa e quando il cerchio della morte si è fatto stringente attorno alla sua vita, come a Gesù nel Getsemani, non è fuggita, abbandonando la lotta di questi contadini senza protezione nel mezzo della foresta, poiché, come spesso ripeteva, anche loro hanno il diritto sacro ad una vita migliore, in una terra dove possono vivere e produrre con dignità. Come Gesù, anche Suor Dorothy ha bevuto il suo calice. Non è fuggita davanti a chi gli voleva togliere la vita. E di questo lei era cosciente. Per tutta la sua vita si è identificata con il loro destino, lavorando e spendendosi per la loro redenzione, pagando cara la sua scelta, divenendo, e così mi piace definirla, una patrona dei poveri Lazzaro, che, ricoperti di piaghe, sono seduti a mendicare alle porte del ricco Epulone. Questo è stato Suor Dorothy. L'ultima cosa che vorrei dire, e lo ha già accennato Emilce, è la dimensione della speranza. Suor Dorothy è stata ed è un simbolo per quanti non vedono futuro per la propria vita e vivono schiacciati nella rassegnazione. Il suo martirio si erge oggi con come una possente voce profetica che aiuta tanti a ritrovare le parole della propria fede, che è speranza che si consuma in amore. Il nostro compito oggi è fare memoria di questa vita, è tenerla nel nostro quotidiano, perché Suor Dorothy è una sorella maggiore che ci precede oggi e ci indica la strada. Grazie.
Thank you very much, Dr. LaBella. Grazie mille per le sue parole così illuminanti, anche che ci sfida per essere anche ecomartiri. Grazie tante. Now we'll pass on to the concluding remarks from Dr. Laurie Johnson before we go for the question and answer session. Laurie Johnston is a professor of theology at Emmanuel College in Boston, a university founded by the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. A theological ethicist, she is the author or editor of books and articles on peace building, just war theory, the environmental impact of war, reconciliation, public theology. She also serves as the executive vice president of the Sant'Egidio Foundation for Peace and Dialogue, which is based in New York. She has been a member of the community of Sant'Egidio in Boston since her student days. To you, the floor.
Thank you, Father Prem. And it's really a privilege to follow all of my esteemed colleagues here. As Dr. Cuda said, it's difficult, maybe sitting in this room, to understand the Amazon from the outside and what's really going on. And I certainly find that's true as I'm teaching in my own context in Boston. But I find Sister Dorothy very helpful for trying to illuminate many of these things for my students. As I often do, when I show documentaries about Sister Dorothy, and there are a couple of beautiful ones, sometimes my students respond initially by saying, why on earth would somebody want to kill such a sweet old lady? Because as you've mentioned, she was often smiling, right? But the more we understand her story, the more we realize that, no, there is something very powerful here. And that's why people wanted her killed. So I want to follow up on all of these excellent comments by just saying a little bit about what has emerged, about what was so powerful about her testimony as a martyr, because of course this is what it means to be a martyr. It's a witness, someone who gives testimony. Sister Mary Johnson started us off by talking a bit about how Sister Dorothy invites us to deepen our understanding of the Catholic social tradition. And it's fitting to be able to follow that up because I am actually teaching in the position at Emmanuel College that Sister Mary used to hold. So trying to fill some very large shoes here and talking about Catholic social teaching. One thing we notice, if you look at the history of modern Catholic social teaching, is a move towards a more and more holistic understanding of justice. So from commutative justice to distributive justice to social justice. But what Sister Dorothy is inviting us to do is really understand that we have to move towards ecological, or I would say even cosmological justice. And in addition to deepening our understanding of justice, solidarity, and the common good, I think she also invites us to think more deeply about the preferential option for the poor, which is an idea that is deeply rooted in our tradition, but is also a particular gift of the Church of Latin America to all of us. And the preferential option for the poor, I think today becomes also the preferential option for the earth, because the earth is poor, exploited, abused in so many contexts around the world. And so the preferential option must also be for the earth. The Catholic social tradition also teaches us that it's important to pay attention to structural sin, to social sin, but that's something that's very hard for us to grasp often. We've focused for too many centuries on individual sins because they're much easier to point to. But one of the things that martyrs testify to are the broader forces that are at work in our world. And Sister Dorothy's story certainly shows how some of these broader forces are really a threat to the environment and to the humans living there. And so when we remember her and other martyrs, because as our speakers have highlighted, she's certainly not alone in being a victim of these forms of violence that are too common in the modern world. But when we honor these martyrs by remembering their names, by affirming their human dignity, it is in itself a way of pushing back against these structures of sin that want to dehumanize, that want us to forget and ignore the violence that's taking place in too many parts of the world. Sister Dorothy's martyrdom, though, doesn't just illuminate the sin and the evil that's at work. Martyrs are also testimonies. They are also witnesses to hope. And our speakers have certainly used the word hope many, many times already, which is very appropriate. This is also something Pope Francis said when he established the Commission for New Martyrs for the Jubilee year, 2025. He wrote in his letter martyrs in the church are witnesses of the hope that comes from faith in Christ. Hope keeps alive the deep conviction that good is stronger than evil, because God in Christ has conquered sin and death. And indeed, in this time of eco-pessimism, Sister Dorothy is a martyr who offers us some hope, because she shows another way of life, another way of living in a practical way. Christian discipleship sometimes has to include farming, which is not something we always recognize, but we've heard some great examples of that from Sister Maamalifar, especially. So she is inviting us to expand our notion of what Christian discipleship has to be about in the here and now. I think her story also, though, invites us to expand our notion even of salvation itself. Too often we think about salvation, Yves Congar wrote, as we're on a boat that's sinking and God comes along and rescues us from the boat and puts us in another boat. And Congar says, no, that's not at all true. Salvation is God creating a marvelous restoration and refloating of the boat we are in now. Salvation is not just humans. Salvation is all of the world. And it is this world that is also destined for salvation. And Dr. LaBella mentioned this also when he talked about Romans 8, the notion that all of creation is groaning in anticipation. Sister Dorothy was groaning in anticipation of a better future for the people that she was living with, and in anticipation of a transformed reality where the Amazon would be cherished and not destroyed. And so it's important for us, I think, to keep in mind that our hope is for a hope that includes all of those things. I want to thank all of you for being here today, to give attention to Sister Dorothy, to listen to what she has to testify about to us today. And thank you to our speakers and our hosts. I think you would all agree with me that Sister Dorothy certainly deserves this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johnson, for your concluding remarks. Now I invite Sister Mary Johnson here on the podium so that we can have our question and answer session. Please. Okay, please. Your name will remain, but here.
It's only missing one letter. So.
Okay, so thank you. We have listened to our esteemed speakers, resource persons from different points of views, especially connecting their experiences with the life of Dorothy. So you have any questions, any comments, or any complimentary remarks, you're welcome. So we'll take some time to reflect over what we have heard and what is our experiences, what are our experiences, and based on that, we'll have some comments, questions, answers. Okay, we'll take 2 minutes in silence to reflect what we have heard, and then so we have about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll dedicate on our sharing rather than question and answer also maybe. So to you, the floor. Yes, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself so that Use the microphone because there are online or are hundreds.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about the power of a woman who had no power. She was not part of the power structure of her community. I mean, of the civil community, nor of the church. And yet, she wasn't simply a sweet old lady. I think what you were talking about earlier about the need to organize and the power that women have in doing that is important. But yeah, I was wondering if you could expand a little more on, what made her so feisty and powerful in her life and not just in her death. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Lori, right away you can go. Okay.
It's a great question because when the people think in the periferia, in Latin America, Africa, Asia, they think in the poverty, in the poetry, really poverty. And for the rest of the world, poverty is a people who is going to die without education, without house, without work. And that thing, the people who, the worst is that the people who live in that continent, they think that the poor people is the people who is in the limit of the life. But all the continents are poor people. Not only the poor people. The rich people is poor people when they go to die in a hospital in the periphery because we have nothing there. But in those countries, the power of the women is first, administrate the poor. The poorest, no la pobreza. Pobreza se dice así. The poverty. I promise you that it's easy to administrate the wealth. If you have money, it's easy to administrate. But if you have nothing, it's not easy to administrate when you have nothing to eat, nothing, no money to buy. And that is the role of the women in the periphery, first. Second, all that women are professors, teachers, nurses, doctors who educate our kids, who take care of our mother and father, take care of the old people in the United States because it's cheaper to pay a nurse from Latin America, who educate the students in the central countries, who care the teeth of the people in Europe because it's cheaper than this from Latin America. So who is the power of the poor people? They are the workers. They are the people who works to build this world that was created by God, but built by workers. It's the people who educate. It's the people who take care in the most expensive hospital in the world. The people who work is the poor people from the periphery. So that is the power of the poor people. The problem for the rich people will be the day of the poor people recognize that the power is between them.
I think it's interesting too to think about your question in relation to the tradition of Christian martyrdom, going all the way back to Perpetua and Felicity, some of the earliest martyrs in our church, who were a couple of nursing mothers with infants in North Africa, and the Roman Empire felt the need to execute them. And it's a bit perplexing. Why on earth was the giant, powerful Roman emperor concerned about these women? And I think it's because they, like Sister Dorothy, were offering an alternative vision of life. We're saying that it's possible to live in loving community, in solidarity, and to rely on the earth, to cultivate the earth. Okay, this is Sister Dorothy. This is not perpetual infelicity, but Sister Dorothy was saying it's possible to cultivate the earth. We are dependent on it, of course, but in a way that doesn't use it up, in a way that cherishes it, that appreciates it, that loves it and one another. And that really undermines so many of the patterns and models of the way we live today. And so she posed a threat.
Thank you. Maamalifar, yes.
I think, thinking of Sister Dorothy, personally also when I was preparing this, I felt a certain power in her. And I think this power that I felt in Sister Dorothy is the power that is in the woman, I felt. Because of the idea of a woman will, whatever it takes, as long as it concerns her child, doesn't matter whether it's a blood child or it's a spiritual child, the length, it doesn't matter. She will go all the way. I don't know if some of you know, there is a kind of a bird that is called a pelican. Okay? I can compare a woman to a pelican that feeds her young with her own blood. And this is the power that accompanies women. And if we can educate the women, the uneducated women, let me put it in quote because all of us are educated, women who don't have formal education, if we can, or men who don't have formal, if we can help them to understand what is at stake, they are the ones who will be in front and who will be behind. And I think this was what Dorothy did. This was the work of Sister Dorothy. She helped the people to understand what was at stake. They took the lead and she followed. And she accompanied them. And they also accompanied her because this it is doing together. And I think when you see the role that the woman plays, that when she was talking of organization, I think this is it. Women organize, even if the organization is not formally recognized. Without the women in the family, there will be no family because of their power.
Okay. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Sister Maria Delaney. I'm a sister of Notre Dame de Namur. I met Dorothy a number of times, both in Brazil, and the year before she was murdered in Belgium. We're at our mother house at our 200th anniversary, where many sisters met her. But one of the important things about Dorothy was her dogged perseverance. She did not start off to be an international name or whatever. She was always focused on the people around her and what were their needs. So her work with the indigenous people right from the beginning was their ability to claim the land that they were part of against the large vested interests who wanted to cut down, in specifically the Amazon rainforest. And she was a nuisance. And the year before, we knew there were threats against her. We'd had meetings. I was in leadership at the time. We had meetings with many people. What if she gets kidnapped? We've never really got into anything worse than kidnapping. And people were going to help with that. But even as I mentioned, in the July of 2004, when we celebrated our 200th anniversary as a congregation, and we were in Belgium, she was interviewed by the Belgian media. So, I mean, her name was known. So when it actually happened that she was martyred, first, we were monitoring our website, of course, because that's where people were getting the news. It was 100, then it was like 20,000, because what happened was she became a cause célèbre, and everybody was using her. All these human rights groups were using her as an example. And there were other people actually murdered in Anapu area right at around the same time she was. But the people who murdered her never imagined the level of publicity that it would cause internationally. But the important thing was she did not miss the moment. She was working with the people around her, and everything else just happened. So we're called to be present to the people around us and not to miss the moment. And how can we enhance and make better the lives of the people? And this is replicated by men and women and men religious all over the world. The gospel is alive and well because of people who will go into areas where nobody else will tread. And then they discover things and
Thank
do
you.
something about it.
Thank you. That is rather a comment, an observation, rather than any reaction. No. Here.
Thank you. My name is Sister Miriam Baike. I'm a member of the Congregation of Our Lady of Charity of the Good Shepherd. And I would ask you to speak a little bit and explain from your experience and knowledge of the personality of Sister Dorothy, her motivation, her values. So what I think I have heard is that she was courageous, but maybe if we tell her you are courageous, she would not say yes. It seems like faithfully one step after the other and faithfully observing what she understands, what it means to follow Jesus. And this non-violence, I saw it also what you said, Sister Maamalifar. When you use these natural pesticides that harms nobody, even there are no harm. And could you just, what is important for you? Personality, values of Sister Dorothy that led her to this life that she had.
Thank you. Okay, please use the mic, please.
Yes, let the sisters answer that one.
Okay. Then.
My name is Lorraine Cornell, Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. Many years ago, I was teaching economics at Emmanuel College, and I applied for a sabbatical, and I wanted to go to Brazil because I had been living with sisters who had been missionaries to Brazil. So without going into a long process of how I got a sabbatical, I didn't. I ended up there, and Dorothy came and picked me up, and we went out to Anapu, and she had a little Volkswagen Bug. And the roads were all dirt roads. They used to call it the Amazon Highway. So I had Amazon Highway in my mind. It was not quite a dirt road. We started down, there was one time, so we were chatting as we were going. It was a long ride. And there was a hill that went down to a river. And so we started down, and she's holding the brake, and we get to the bottom. There were tree trunks that went from one side of the river to the other side of the river. But we had to get out of the car to make sure that the tires were lined up with the tree trunks. Good idea. So anyway, we got to, I'm thinking, I just got here and I'm going to be dead. You know, like, really. I remember writing to my mother at the time saying I've had more life-threatening experiences in a week than I've had in my entire life. Okay. So I say, we got through this. I say to Dorothy, aren't you scared? And she says, if I was scared, I would have been dead a long time ago. And what that meant to me was her prayer every day was the prayer of, don't be afraid, I am with you. And that's what she believed, that's how she lived, and that's why she wasn't afraid.
Thank you.
I'm Sister Kathy Harmon, Sister of Notre Dame de Namur. Dorothy's personality was graced with an unquenchable, extraordinary compassion that just led her always to connect to everything and everyone. She connected from inside herself with every bit of creation and every person she ever met. That was somehow born into her. Perhaps her family saw it when she was growing up, but probably times as siblings she still wanted to hit her, but that's okay. That's siblings. That enabled her to be direct, firm with persons who were choosing activities that kept the poor poor. She was direct and straight with them, but never with anger or vindictiveness, because she had compassion for her enemies also. Some of you may know this story, and this perhaps speaks of her compassion, of her love for everyone, and of her such a deep trust in God. She knew the day she was going to die. She knew the day had come. But she had to get to the community of Esperanza, the community site that had just been burnt to the ground by the loggers. As she began to walk down the Amazon highway, walking down the dirt road, but she stopped that night in the home of someone she knew well to stay there. And they were sitting outside around the fire pit eating dinner. And two strange men stepped out of the woods. Dorothy knew right away, not their names, but she knew why they were there. And what did she do? Come eat supper. And the two men sat down and ate with them. As they finished the meal, Dorothy turned to them and said, I know why you're here, and I want to ask you, for your own sakes, don't do it. They stood up and said, we're doing it. They began to walk away. She said, wait, there's one more thing. I need to bless you. What's that personality? It's one so compassionate, she, like Jesus, loves her enemy and wants only salvation and life for her enemy as much as she wanted it for all the other people. And she could smile so often. That would be the best I could offer. Thank you.
Yes, please. Now, before the question, Sister Maamalifar wants to comment on that. Please.
I wanted to add something to what the sisters have said. I didn't know Dorothy. I only came in contact with her when I was preparing this. But many things struck me, and I will just mention two. One was her deep faith in God and in people and in nature. Her deep love for God, for people, and for nature. And the compassion you are talking of, I came across it the day that she was shot, when she was blocked. And then when they asked her, he mentioned it. Do you have a weapon? She said, yes, I have a weapon. She removed her Bible and said, this is my only weapon. And she started to read the Beatitudes. Happy are the peacemakers, happy are the, And then after she said, I bless you, my sons, and they shot her. How do you describe such a person? I don't know how I would have reacted. But for her, she was just there. Her life, whether she dies or whether she lives, is the same. And one a text of the Corinthians that I came across, I wanted to use, but I said I can't say everything, which I know was, what is it now? It is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 7 to 12. If you remember the text, even whatever threats is not a problem for us, as long as I do what the Lord is asking me. And that was the way she lived. And this was the power that accompanied her. Thank you.
Thank you. The question, please.
I would just like to suggest that my sister Dorothy is probably a beautiful example and follower in many ways of what Pope Francis is trying to do these days. I mean, I keep reading things about how the Pope is trying to create a synodal church, which means, not the top talking down to the poor or the lower, but giving the bottom part of the church an opportunity to be heard. I think that was what Dorothy's life was all about, giving the opportunity for the lesser to be heard. So I also think that as we try to move more and more away from the patriarchal church, I think Dorothy, again, is a wonderful example. She many times, at least, brought the subject matter up to me, how difficult it is to be listened to as a woman. And so I'm very proud of my sister Dorothy. Oh, what can I say?
Just like to thank Mr. Tom Stang, Dorothy's younger brother, who was able, with so many family members who love Dorothy so much, to come here, and also to recognize that Dorothy has two other siblings in the United States too. So we are so grateful to all of you for your witness.
Yes, sister, please.
I want to say something also about power. I remember reading a novel once, and a man who was very strong against injustice and fighting really hard and standing up against the Nazis, then he was assassinated. The young woman who knew him and loved him was talking to a priest saying, I don't understand. I don't understand. All we have now is a corpse. And the priest said very gently, you cannot ever silence a corpse. From the moment of her death, her voice has been louder in the world than ever. That is power. And there was an early on miracle. We have another sister, Mary Alice McCabe, also working in Brazil those years, but she worked hundreds of miles away from Dorothy along the coastline of Brazil with poor people who were fishermen. And that year, they had caught no fish the entire season. They were not feeding their families. They were not making any money for anything. They were desperate. And they went to Mary Alice and they said, the men did, they said, we're going to do something that we do in our culture. We're going to start over. So we're going to get a new boat. and we pooled all our money together. Now, new boat wasn't going to be a new boat. It was just going to be a different boat for them. And they took what money they had and they got a boat and they fixed it. They spent all the time. They fixed that boat. They got it ready to sail again. And they went to find Mary Alice and said, the boat is finished. It is fixed. We're going to take it out tomorrow, but we need you to come and bless the boat. So Mary Alice walked back with them to the shore. She was not prepared for this. Remember, we are hundreds of miles away from where Dorothy had lived and ministered. When Mary Alice got to the boat, the name of the boat painted on the bow was La Dorothea. And she went, La Dorothea? And the fisherman said, everyone knows the angel of the Amazon will be taking care of us. And Mary Alice said, they caught more fish that day than they could bring in. And that's the truth.
We have another 5 minutes we can dedicate for questions and answers. So thank you very much. It was a wonderful session, wonderful afternoon. And Pontifical Gregorian University, I speak now on behalf of Rector Mark Lewis. It was a pleasure to host a symposium on a personality such powerful, courageous, and I would say, deep faith in the person of Jesus Christ. So you have witnessed, given the witnesses, apart from the resource persons, you have also given witnesses with your experiences as you're known. And I'm very happy personally to know that Thompson, his younger brother, is here with us and the family members. So thank you very much. Before I give the final words to Laurie, I'd like to inform you also, because you are in the Pontifical Gregorian University. The first university started by St. Ignatius himself in 1551. And then we are conducting 2 courses, one online, one in English, another one in Italian, on the same theme that you have been dealing here, on climate movement, integral ecology. And in English, since you are English-speaking people, I just look to announce also, it is our pleasure and privilege. On 30th of this month, January, we start second edition of online English course. Last year, we had 662 students. And this year also, we expect, it is online course once in a month on Thursday, third Thursday. We have the classes here conducted by all the universities, Pontifical universities in Rome. So I'll pass on the information to Laurie so that we can continue our collaboration. That was so beautiful today. So thank you very much, Laurie. Now to you, the final words.
Thank you, Prem. Just wanted to share a quick invitation. You've already heard from Sister Mary, though, that you're all welcome to join us tonight at 8 p.m. at the Basilica of San Bartolomeo on the Tiber Island for a special prayer of the community of Sant'Egidio, where we will welcome the relics of Sister Dorothy to be preserved permanently at the Sanctuary of the New Martyrs. Thank you all, and thank you, Prem.
Shall we give a big hand to our resource persons and also to the congregation leader, Mary Johnson? So probably it will be appropriate we stand for 1 minute in the rest to respect the memory of Sister Dorothy. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as at the beginning, is now, shall be, world without end. Amen. Thank you. God bless you.